You're ready.
Hey everyone, and welcome. Happy Thursday. Quick note: DJ Chark is out tonight, so if you're watching this before Thursday night football, pivot, 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 and good luck. Watch that other video if you need any help and hints and tips. We Live Fantasy, and we are breaking down the trucks in the Xfinity this weekend at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. We have the lovely Tyler Lau from Charlotte, North Carolina, up top, and we have Mike Chaffee here in lovely Bradenton, Florida, and we're breaking down the trucks. And one cool thing about this week is that earlier this year, Tyler was out in Las Vegas, boots on the ground, traveling the NASCAR circuit for us at We Live Fantasy. And so he got to see practice, qualifying. We have a ton of notes and a ton of background information for you this week for this truck and Xfinity slate on DraftKings. So we'll just get right into it. Tyler, how you feeling this week, bud? Where you at with Vegas this week?
I mean, I like Vegas. I should have won when I was out there the first time, but obviously a lot of the races changed towards the end, and it didn't pay out the way I needed it to.
Yeah.
There's a couple randos in here, and we'll get to that. But I think we'll have some decent builds here, and hopefully, Austin Hill wins this race, right?
Yeah, starting 11th. But right above him is Brett Moffitt, the tried and true Brett Moffitt, still having trouble getting into victory lane. Where you at with him? The pole sitter, $11,000.
Yeah, I mean, he's been strong lately. He's obviously could have won a few races. Could have easily won last week. The truck just went away from him, and Mayer was just lights out. He was crazy. He was on a rail for sure. Earlier in the year, I had Moffitt. I didn't even really have him in my practice notes of trucks that look good. He did run a couple fast laps on that practice, but overall in the race, I mean, he really wasn't anything at all. The whole race, he wasn't a threat. He didn't do well. At 11,000, I got to take some of them. Probably about 20% or 25% in my lineups because of just the way he's been running lately.
Okay.
But I don't think he's in my core or the chalk of the week.
Okay. All right. I can get with you there. I feel like the FOMO in me, or just like you, I'll have some. But man, we've seen if he falls to like 5th and 6th and doesn't lead laps, man, it's just
he doesn't pay for himself.
Right. It's tough, but he can do it. A truck that always looks good on mile-and-a-half tracks and up is Austin Hill, starting 11th. Man, last week at Bristol was kind of rough for him. We weren't heavy on him, so it didn't affect us too much. But Austin Hill, Hattori Motorsports, they seem to do really well. Like the Kansases, the Vegases, the tracks like that. I feel like we have to play him starting 11th because we know he's going to finish top 10, right? Knock on wood.
Yeah. I mean, he's probably worked his way into the core. I mean, yeah, I look at the spreadsheets and he's got to win a top 5 and 2 top 10s this year at tracks like this. So, yeah. I mean, how do you not? He also ran very strong here earlier in the year. He was all over my notes from here earlier. He was not in the winning lineup, but I think he's stronger now than he was in the beginning of the year, and he's definitely flexed some muscle at these tracks over the course of the year. So, yeah, I'm in on Austin Hill starting 11th for sure.
Mr. Creed starting 4th this week, averaging 35 fantasy points a race, has 8 top 10s, starting 4th. What say you?
I'm in.
Yeah?
I'm in.
All right.
Yeah, I don't think he made the core, but I'm in. I like the way he ran here earlier this year. He's been strong lately, obviously. He was one of the few trucks earlier this year that could run with Kyle Busch. He drove side by side with him for 20 laps late in the race, and unfortunately drove the tires off and ended up too loose and faded to 8th or 10th or something like that. But I like him. I think he's a play. I think he's expensive, and I think that's going to keep people off of him.
Yeah.
And I'm good with that. So
Okay.
I'll take my chances there. And with Zane Smith too. I mean, your boy.
Boy wonder.
Let's go. You tell me, what is it?
He's the man, dude. I think I was so worried about him coming back from the COVID downtime of being a rookie and not running full time ever before in the truck series with no practice and no qualifying. But the young guns keep surprising me. And now we're coming back to a track that he has ran before.
Yep.
And that GMS is very comfortable at, and that boy wonder, man, he is so damn good. Starting 7th, besides Hill, he's got the most out of the top 4 guys. To me, I feel like he's got the most place differential to gain. And I think if him or Hill get up and lead laps, they're going to be in the winning lineup this week. And I just think you can't go wrong with GMS at any track this summer. They've been really good. And where I threw all the COVID crap out the window with practice and qualifying was last week. Sam Mayer finally put the nail in the coffin for okay, maybe these guys don't need practice and qualifying. That dude was unstoppable, passing some of the best guys in the truck series. No, there wasn't a Kyle Busch there. No, there wasn't anyone like that. But there were ex-Cup guys in that field, and it was a pretty damn strong field. And if you follow NASCAR, you know how damn hard Bristol is. And not only did he win the truck race, he went out there and absolutely spanked their asses in the ARCA K&N series. The guy is legit. And if you are watching this, go ahead and write it down. Start Sam Mayer at Bristol next year.
Yes.
Go ahead and just jot that in. I don't care if he's fucking $18,000. I'm starting him because he was so damn good. I also, for what it's worth, I had a dream that Zane Smith called me and told me he was going to win this week. There's no statistics behind that. That's just me being a fucking lunatic. But yeah, I'm going with Zane Smith. Every mile and a half I've started Zane Smith, he's won me money this year. So yeah.
He's had 3 top 10s.
Yeah, I'm going Zane Smith. That's my guy. Could I jinx him? Yeah, maybe. But if I was in Vegas, I'd be going to a casino and putting money on Zane Smith. Right underneath him, a guy I know you have been high on since February. And when you were out in Vegas, Christian Eckes starting 9th. Really good value there.
Oh yeah, and I hope he's low owned because he's going to lead laps this year. I mean, I just watched the Las Vegas race again from earlier, and he was fast. I mean, he ran with Kyle Busch all the way up until he hit the wall. So, yeah. Unfortunately, he got behind Todd Gillen coming out of 2, kind of like early in the going, and just got in the fence and just destroyed the right side of the truck. But other than that, he was fast. He was turning fast laps. He was running with Kyle Busch. I had him in my notes from practice. He was fastest during practice. Yeah, I'm in. Yeah. He's another core play right there.
Yeah, and if you're looking to maximize the value up top, out of all the guys that are up here, if you go Hill and Eckes, that gives you the 11th starter and the 9th starter of guys who can have the potential to go up there and win the race, and that leaves you with 7,350. So, go from what you want there. But if you're looking to maximize the value up top with place differential, that would be where to go. Next on the list is Mr. Grant Enfinger. Been on absolute tear lately. Starting 3rd. I personally think there's guys who can pass him, but I also thought that at Richmond, and he proved me wrong, and he continues to prove me wrong. And I think one of the first videos we ever did, we were talking about tracks that run like plate tracks, and Grant Enfinger is one of the best plate drivers, um, arguably in the top 3 series. I would put him. I think you could put him in a Cup or an Xfinity car, and he'd do really well at plate tracks.
He's
Vegas,
always there.
Vegas, it seems like you just kind of burp it a little bit to set it, and on fresh tires, you're full tilt. And it seems like he's a guy at full throttle situations that shows up. Starting third scares me, but Thor Sport Racing, I think, is going to come with their crap together. But starting third does scare me.
Yeah, and it should. It should, because he could easily fade to 13th or 15th and kill your lineup and you have everyone else right.
Yeah.
But he is a play. I have a few of him. I have him in my Thor stacks because I made a few Thor stack lineups just in case.
Okay.
That will not happen again. What happened a couple weeks ago. That will not happen again.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Thor Sport, Johnny Sauter, the king of heartbreak this year. Man, I was talking to someone on Twitter, and it was so funny. They were just like, yeah, he's either going to finish top 5 or he's going to finish 30th. And that's pretty much where we're at. I personally was so heartbroken at Bristol and at Richmond with him. Just 2 tracks that I know Johnny Sauter has circled at the beginning of every year, is drooling from the mouth to get to because of his short track routes. Very upsetting. Has a really good average finish here. Is he top 5 or is he beyond 25th this week?
Well, it's going to be either one.
Yeah. You have to choose, though. You have to choose.
More likely than not, it'll probably be the back. But I'm taking him. I'm taking him. He had speed in February. He ran really well. The truck looked good. He was happy after the race for the most part. I mean, as happy as you could see Sauter, really. And I'm in. Yeah, I'm in. I hope he doesn't blow up or something.
On the notes you sent me in February, on the practice charts, his name was mentioned. And then on the trucks that just looked good, riding on the track, ride heights, stability, consistency, he was also on that list that you sent me earlier this year as well. So starting 13th, I mean, take a stabs. I don't think he's a core play, but take some stabs. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, he's not. Yes, he's not a core play. I can't ever core Johnny Sauter, especially this year.
Except for next year at Bristol, because he's going to be on the comeback trail. So.
Listen, I've tried it. I've tried it this year a few times, and it only ends up with tears and no money in the wallet. So.
Yeah. So, see, the wild card, high-priced person this week is Dylan Lupton, starting 34th on the field. A name you might have seen before, a name you might be familiar with if you keep up with all 3 series. Your brain, playing this every day, mega entering contests. That's a steep price for a Dylan fucking Lupton when you can get guys around him that are all going to finish in the top 10. Out of the lineups you built, how many has he creeped into your clicks?
Well, I look back through 18 and 19, and tracks similar to this. Unfortunately, he didn't run at Vegas, but at tracks similar to this, he had a top 5 and a top 10.
Wow.
But that was it, and I would like to think that was in worse equipment than he's in now.
Right.
Because that's when he ran that O2 car. Or the O2
wow. Okay. Well, he's in a DGR Crosley.
Yes, owned by David Gilliland.
Yep. So we know the truck's going to be there. Seems like DK knows he's going to be there, pricing him at 9,300. If he was in the 8,000s, he'd definitely be chalk city. At 9,300, you might get him at around a 20% ownership. Could be a slate winner, could be a chalk you don't want to eat. I'm kind of right on the fence here. I feel like I'd rather have Gill and Rhodes Eckes and Smith, but I guess if he falls there, he kind of falls there. But man, I feel like I'd rather have Gilliland, the tried and true, um, running this series every week. But it's a really tough call. That's a tough one.
Yeah, especially if Lupton finishes around 15th, he's getting 54 points. So
Yeah. And
you
he
know,
can finish 15th.
and he could finish 15th.
I mean, he's definitely a lead lap truck.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you this: I'll have about 20% of them. I think
Okay.
that's a very reasonable number.
That's fair.
I think if he was like, I think if you were to take out one of your core and put him in for a few lineups and mix and match that way, I think you could cover yourself pretty well.
Okay. Todd Gilliland, we touched on him. Wasn't in any of the practice notes, but he was in the winning lineup back in the first race of the year here at Vegas. $9,100 starting 10th. I've made a handful of lineups so far, and Todd's been in damn near all
of them. Yes, and he can be. Here's my only concern with Todd is finishing right where he started, and that could happen too. Looking at the stats for tracks like this year that they've ran at, he's got 4 top 10s, a top 20, top 30, and 1 back 10. So, I mean, he could definitely be a play. He was in the winning lineup earlier this year here. He did start like 18th though,
Okay.
Which helped, his points.
Yeah.
But he can run top 5. He can.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
So it is a play.
Another guy in that winning lineup right below him, Ben Rhodes.
Yep. I hate Ben Rhodes.
Oh man, he's another heartbreaker from Thor Sport Racing.
You could not play him all year and not win, or you could play him all year and not win. That's the stupid fucking part about Ben Rhodes.
All right. So Rhodes or Crafton?
Crafton all day.
All right. Well, that settles that.
All
Crafton made all the notes that you sent me from earlier in the year. He definitely has the most experience of any driver in this field. He was the difference between $1,500 and $2,500 for me earlier this year. And
he was in my winning lineup at Kansas.
Ever since that day, I have never forgotten to click Matt Crafton in a few lineups that I really like.
You have to.
8,700 is an absolute steal for him, starting 6th, but he's Matt Crafton, and on your notes here, he was 4th in practice, and he was on the list of trucks that looked good on the longer runs and, trending in the right direction and running good speed. I like Matt Crafton this week. I feel like you really can never count Matt Crafton out throughout the year. I think you really can't count him out come the playoffs, and here we are, on the in the playoffs. So I like Matt Crafton this week. The only thing that scares me is the steady Eddie, just kind of like Todd Gilliland if he gets you 10th.
Yeah, and that's the downside with him. The upside with him is at tracks like this year, he has 1 win, 4 top 5s, 2 top 10s. I'm sorry, 1 win, 4 top 5s, 1 top 10, and 1 back 30. So yeah. He's a shoe-in for a top 10 at least, and most likely a top 5.
Especially if you're trying to make balanced builds.
If you're doing balanced builds, he's your guy.
Yeah. All right, Mr. Smith, Mr. Chandler Smith right underneath him. I haven't gone there once so far with my lines.
I did.
You did?
I did. And there's no reason.
Because the KBM, is that?
That's exactly why. That truck won this race earlier this year with a different driver in it, obviously, but it was a very fast truck. They had fast equipment all weekend when they were there. I'm going to do it because I don't think anyone else is going to, but he will not be in a lot.
Okay.
He won't be in a lot.
Right underneath him,
Your
Derek
boy.
Kraus.
Your boy.
Bro. Listen, you show me Derek Kraus with double digits and not a 9,000 in front of him, I'm clicking him. He never ceases to amaze me either. Him and Zane Smith are like the future, okay? Um, and that's where I'm at with Derek Kraus. Derek Kraus, 9 top tens this year. He's starting 14th. I'm taking my chances, and I'm gonna say he runs well inside the top 10, maybe a sixth, a fifth, and maybe with the right strategy and some other guys failing around him. And if he does crash and burn, he's not hurting you as bad as the Chandler Smiths, the Ben Rhodes, and things like that around him. Um, Dude's solid. The low-owned play of the year at $8,300, Tyler Ankrum. Lord Almighty, my lineups were looking so good last week when he was out front with that strategy for him to stay out when he pitted for the competition caution. And unfortunately, there was no passing in the truck race at Bristol, and he just couldn't pass. You know what it reminded me of was the old ASA race they had at DeSoto Speedway. And that ASA was on that brink of running the spec engines and the crate engines and everything running like an IROC race. And unfortunately, with the Bristol race, I noticed it was just follow the leader, follow the
Yep.
train, and the only way that you're passing is if someone screws up or lays a bumper to you. There was like no passing in that race. Yeah, a couple people might comment on this video and say, "Oh, so and so passed a lot of people." Well, that was one guy, and he had to pass people because he was put in bad situations. And but if you were a 10th place car, the only way you're getting up to fifth is moving people out of your way or other people messing up. It seemed like.
Yeah, or pitch strategy. Right.
Right, and that's another conversation for another day. But Tyler Ankrum, even when he starts 10th, he's 9% owned at the max. He's starting second. Do we think he can battle for this victory?
I fucking hope not.
Yeah. GMS truck, good
I hope
stuff.
not.
Good stuff. There's a lot of names around him that are very distracting. And that's kind of.
I will say this.
Okay.
He ran very well at Homestead last year and earlier this year. And Homestead seems to drive a lot like Vegas, and the people that usually are good at Homestead are usually good at Vegas. So I will go there a few times, but he won't be too heavily owned on my side.
Take him with like a Chalk City lineup.
Yeah, I mean, I would take him just to be different and get off Friesen, because I feel like Friesen's going to be the play there,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
I hate.
Yeah, seriously. Let's Friesen broke We Live Fantasy's hearts last week with his never-ending danger trouble. I don't know who has his voodoo doll, but
Quit stabbing it, damn it.
huh?
Quit stabbing that
Yeah,
bitch.
seriously, stop breaking its legs. Um, I we talked earlier and pretty much all throughout this year, you and I, Tyler, about how hanging a new body on that truck, making the change from Chevy to Toyota with no practice and no qualifying, how the arrow can be so much different. Do you think a team like this, having been at Las Vegas and having that practice and having that time, now coming back to the track again, also running a couple more 1.5-mile tracks, do you think they can get that pointed in the right direction? Or do you think that they're still going to be struggling a little bit?
You would hope so.
Yeah.
With that much track time here earlier in the year, you've got good notes. The race was ran at night just as well as this one's going to be. So I mean, I don't know, how much more practice you would need than that. I mean, you ran a full race here. You had practice then, so I'd like to see him come out and do well. Unfortunately, he's starting 18th and is very affordable, so I think a lot of people are going to go there.
Yeah.
Which really makes me not want to go there and hope he breaks. But then we know he's not gonna. So,
well, the practice speeds, he wasn't on them. I think that has a lot to do with the switch to Toyota coming to a 1.5-mile track
Right.
and everything like that. He wasn't in the trucks you liked for the long run and kind of stability, and he wasn't in the winning lineup earlier in the year. He could definitely be in the winning lineup this week. He's just a headache and really hard to watch. For me, I have clicked Lassard more times than Friesen. Another reason behind that is the KBM Alliance. And when I looked up our spreadsheets that Lacey made on WeLiveFantasy.com, his name popped a lot for me. Um, I like him over anyone in this section here, all the way down to Tanner Gray. I like Raphael Lassard. I know that team's going to unload well. I know the 51, the 4, and the 18 are going to unload well. Those trucks run well on tracks like this. The Arrow, everything pushing the envelope there for KBM. I really like Lassard. Where's he at in your brain?
Not as high as yours.
Okay.
um,
I think him and Gray are like just killer plays this week.
Oh, I like Gray over Lazard, and the reason why is because Gray ran up to fourth here earlier this year.
Yeah,
and
he was raising hell, praising Dale, baby.
He was, and actually he finished eighth, so I think Creed finished a little further back. But I like Gray. Gray on these tracks has had a top 5, a top 10, which was here, a top 15, and a top 20. If you're looking at Lazard, he's had 2 top 15s and a top 20 and a top 30. So I like Gray, especially to save the money and going off history from this year, post-COVID and pre-COVID. I know he's starting 3 spots further ahead, but I think he could easily finish 3 spots or more further ahead.
Yep, and he was in the winning lineup earlier this year that took down the 10K. So
and he was in the winning lineup.
So in between them, we have Ryan Truex, who can definitely get us a top 15.
He can do it.
He can also get a bite of the I'm not doing this every week, and just the little ins and outs and tips and tricks that you need to run, whether that's pit road, cutting a tire, rubbing up against someone, kind of being in the wrong place at the wrong time. If I would take Lassard and Gray. If I had to rank the 7K range, Ryan Truex would probably be in the top 5 of that range. But I think the consistency of Gray and Lassard running this series week in, week out, I like them over him. Do you have any Ryan Truex in your brain on your wavelengths?
I do not, but that makes me scared, and now I'm probably going to have a few.
Okay.
Yeah, because he can run top 5, top 15.
He can. He can, and that's 38 points. Oh, you're muted, brother. Hang on, everyone. All right. Yeah, I can hear you now. All right.
Yeah, I had somebody trying to interrupt our Zoom.
Oh, those bastards!
How dare they?
All right. So if you're watching this and are unfamiliar with Connor Daly, he is a full-time IndyCar driver, making his debut over in the NASCAR sanctioned series. I have a personal love for Connor Daly. He is a type 1 diabetic. My wife is a type 1 diabetic. So I understand all too well what he deals with on a daily basis. His health insurance is probably way better than my wife and I's, but that's another discussion. So he probably gets everything he needs. But Connor Daly, I made one lineup with him. I felt like I was out of my fucking mind making a lineup with him because I if he does figure it out, it'll be the last 30 laps, and he'll probably be nowhere near where he needs to be to produce the value. Even at 7,500, man, it's so juicy. It's so juicy, but there's no way he's making a core. I'd rather have Truex. I'd rather have Gray. I'd rather have Lassard. I'd rather have Friesen. And quite damn honestly, I'd rather have Travis Pastrana, who's at least raced trucks before.
Right.
And has raced Las Vegas a handful of times and has experience. He loves Las Vegas. He's broken fucking 26 records in Las Vegas of bike jumps and races and all this shit. He loves the city. He's comfortable. And I know damn well Travis Pastrana is going to hold that sumbitch wide open even when he knows he shouldn't. So I like Travis Pastrana, man. I think we'll take Connor Daly later in the year when he makes another round of truck starts.
Yeah, I'll take a couple. I'll take a couple shares, but that's it. I agree.
If you're building 20 lineups, how many Connor Dalys are you going to have?
One.
All right, there it is. There it is. You heard it here first, folks. Tanner Gray, we touched on him. Travis Pastrana. I'm going to have more Pastrana than I am Connor Daly just because Travis Pastrana is a badass. Spencer Davis, a guy who has been on your radar all year. Really, really feeling the Spencer Davis this week. Where are you at with Spencer Davis?
He's in the core.
He's in your core. All right. Davis, core.
Yep, he's in the core. This year, at tracks similar to this track and this track included, he has 3 top 15 finishes.
Wow. And that's in the 11 truck, correct?
That's in the 11 truck. Yep. He has 3 top 15 and 1 top 30.
Wow.
I like him. He was in my notes.
Starting 32nd, too. God bless America.
He looked great in practice last year. He was in my notes, and he had, I think it was like 21st or 20th.
Okay.
But when I rewatched that race, just to give me a refresher, he drove from the back, which was like 28th or something like that, or 30th, and drove up to 11th on the first run. Like the first run out of the gate, stage 1. Drove up there and passed all those guys and continued to be fast all race. Had a couple speeding penalties on pit road or a couple penalties on pit road.
Okay.
Got cut back a few times and passed those cars as well. He passed more cars than any other truck on the track.
I love it. I'm all in with you. I'll try to dig in on Twitter tonight and see if that's the same truck. I'll try messaging a few people on there to see what we can do. I share a lot of cool stuff on Twitter, so everyone add me on Twitter too, mchaffee55. We're now into sub 700 range, 7K range. I won't kill our listeners here and go through all these scrubs down here. I'm not touching Jenny Jo Cobb. You can't pay me enough to touch Stoner, Natalie Decker. Ciccarelli, no thank you. Vanes, no thank you. Greenfield, no thank you. Uwuji, God bless America, no. Spencer Boyd, are you anywhere near Spencer Boyd?
I can get behind playing a few Spencer Boyd because he can finish 18th and get you the points you need.
Yeah, another team running full season, full strength. Tate Fogelman, he's starting with a 1 in front of him. I can't touch him with a 1 in front of him. Cram, he's running. What truck is he in this week?
He's in the 41 truck. Not a great truck, but he does give me a little bit of hope because when I looked him up on the stat sheet, he does have 1 top 25 in tracks similar to this. And last year he had a pretty good finish at, I cannot remember what track it is, but it was a very similar track to this. I like him starting 33rd. If he finishes 25th, we got the points out of him that we needed. Like, I'm looking for 30 points out of him. And he's strictly in lineups so I can load the top. If I'm not loading the top, I'm not using him.
So you are cramming him in. Oh,
Cramming him in.
Jordan Anderson, never again. He's dead to me. Purdy starting 17th. If you have another angle on Anderson, so I'm not just completely biased on this vlog, let me know. Purdy, he ain't looking too purdy to me this week.
Nope.
Rayoum starting 30th. I'd rather have Cram now that you explained that. And then that leads us to Austin Wayne himself at 6,700. It seems like he's the best value on this whole slate to try to get guys up top, get the GMS stacks, get the place differentials. I know you're an Austin Wayne self-truther. He broke our hearts last week. He wrecked that GMS truck, which is so sad. Austin Wayne self, what say you?
The last of the core plays.
Okay. So speaking of those core plays, I have Davis and I have self. Who are your other core guys this week?
Austin Hill and Ekes.
Austin Hill and Ekes. That leaves you 7750 to build around. Are you paying up or going down from there? 7750. Are we going to go grab a Travis Pastrana?
You could.
Let's see what there leaves us there. So just to recap, we have Spencer Davis, Austin Wayne Self, Austin Hill, Christian Eckes, leaves us with 7,700. I can get Tanner Gray there. I can get Pastrana. Oh, man.
You could do I mean, you could pay up, pay down. That's where you could get you a Graham in there, or Cram in there. And then you could get up there a little bit if you need to.
Ooh, Tanner Gray gets us Rafael Lassard. I'm loading that one in. That is Davis, Self, Hill, Eckes, Tanner Gray, Rafael Lassard. Let's see what else we got here with this core four. So if you go Cram, you can cram in a Johnny Sauter, Dylan Lupton, Todd Gilliland, Ben Rhodes. And then we got
I've got all those, by the way, so if anyone makes those, we're tying.
I like it. I like it. All right. A Spencer Boyd gets you Enfinger, Sauter, Lupton, Gilliland as a top-down method to load. And then, let's see here. I like the Cram. I like the Gray Lassard. I like the Pastrana Friesen. Pastrana Friesen's a pretty good one.
That is a pretty good one.
We just need Austin Hill to get up there or Christian Eckes to get up there and lead laps, and I think that one could do it. So it looks like
Christian Eckes is going to lead after the competition caution.
All right, write that down, everyone. All right, so I think the best place differential with your core four is Spencer Davis, Christian Eckes, Stuart Friesen, Austin Hill, Pastrana, and Austin Wayne Self. I'm going to load that one in. That one's going in a few different lobbies, and I like that because of place differential. And I think there's going to be passing this week, unlike last week, surprisingly. And, yeah, any last-minute thoughts for this Vegas race, Tyler?
Yeah, we need Ben Rhodes to wreck.
That'd be great.
That would be great.
It'd be great. I don't see it happening in the beginning, but he definitely could wreck towards the end.
Check us out, Twitter, Facebook. We're still working on all that shit because we're lazy as fuck and terrible and everything sucks and people suck. Check us out. Love y'all. Thanks.
Absolutely. Absolutely, guys. Have a good night. Comment if you have any questions. If you need any lineup advice, reach out to us anywhere you find We Live Fantasy. Have a good night. Good luck in the trucks.